Hey, Math Ninjas, we're talking about conversions, percents, decimals, fractions. This is good real life math stuff. Cents, do a little etymology here. Cents, 100 cents in a dollar. Century, 100 years in a century. Centimeter, 100 centimeters in a meter, right? So that word cent means what? 100, right? So keeping that in mind as we're talking about percent, per 100 out of 100, percents to decimals. So if we're taking a percentage, let's call it 47%. What we're doing, if we want to go to a decimal, we're thinking remove the percentage sign, right? It's not a percentage. We're thinking divide by 100. So 47 divide by 100. And then that is to move the decimal also two places to the left. We could think about it as that. So percent, 47, the decimal coming in after the 7, and we're moving it two places to the left. So that is going to give us this decimal 0.47, 47 hundredths. Keep the place value in mind, especially with this stuff. Place value is super important with our decimals. 7 is in the what place? Hundredths place. Cool. Okay, let's talk about decimals to percents. And we'll look at a couple examples with that. So decimal to percent. Just going to use the sign there. So with that, the steps that we're thinking is we would multiply by 100. Sort of like reversing everything here, right? Multiply by 100, which is, in this case, move the decimal two places to the right. Move decimal two places to the right. And then, of course, add the percentage sign. So that's the deal for going decimal to percentage. So let's look at a couple examples, like straight up 2.27, right? 27 hundredths. This one works out pretty well. But if we weren't sure, we would be thinking multiply by 100. We would be thinking move the decimal two places to the right, which is going to give us 27, add the percentage sign, cent. So that's cool. If the place value is already in 100, that's going to help us see right away going to percentage 27%. So let's look at a slightly different one, doing a different thing. So if you had 1 8/10, and we were thinking go to a percentage, and now it's like, okay, it's a little bit different. We're still thinking these steps. We're still thinking multiply by 100, which is to move the decimal two places to the right. So we would need to put in the 0 there. And then we have this add the percentage sign to 180. So 180%. And that makes sense because this is more than a whole. It's almost 2. So 180%, almost 2 whole things, okay? So let's look at fractions, and you can go any which way with this stuff, right? Fractions to percents to decimals, and then backwards, right? Decimals to percents and everything. So I will want you to do that on the practice problems. Is just take one value and then convert it into all its forms. So fractions to decimals and percents. Okay, so for this, I would say one thing I'm always going to look to do is look to make the denominator 100 if I can. So look to make the denominator 100. So a pretty familiar example right there. You might see that and you might be like, cool, 80%, cool, 0.8. But let's just think of it in this terms. How would we make the denominator 100? So 4 times 20, 5 times 20 is going to give this 80 over 100. And then from here, it's all pretty easy, right? So we've got 80 over 100. Fraction or a percent is per 100. So that is 80%, 80 per 100. And then if we wanted to do a decimal from a percentage to a decimal, we would have remove the percent sign, go 2 places to the left. And so that gives us the 0.8. We don't need that other 0 at that point. You could say 80 hundredths or 8 tenths. So all of these 3 guys here are all equivalent. 80 per 100, 80%, 8 tenths are all equivalent. So let's look at a little trickier problem. And if you had, what if we had 15 out of 11? So in this case, can we make the denominator 100? It's not convenient at all. So here we would need to do the long division. So you have 15 divided by 11. And I know you guys have done this work. I know you can do this work. You should be able to do it if you ever had to, right? 11 into 15, using your decimals, adding the zeros, and going through it. But we also have calculators, and I'm more interested in using that tool in this situation. So 15 divided by 11 is going to be equal to, it's definitely over a whole. You need to have that estimation skill to know that and to be able to say, yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable. 15 divided by 11, I'm using my calculator, that's the value. When you use a calculator, you got to be able to know if your answer that it's giving you is in the ballpark, right? Got to be able to do that. Okay, so we've got our fraction, we've got our decimal. We want to turn it into a percent. How would we turn it into a percent? We would take this and multiply it by 100, or that means move the decimal 2 places to the right. Okay, so if I move it 2 places to the right, I get here, and again, that's 36 repeating. So then I have 136.36 repeating, and it is a percentage, so we're going to add the percentage sign. So we've got 136 and 36 repeating percent, and that does line up with all of our values. All of these things are equivalent. So there it is. Practice problems. 4 of them, and I want you to convert every single one of them into all its forms. So the first one is going to be 46%. Put it into a decimal and a fraction. The second one is going to be 18 hundredths. Put it into a percent and a fraction in simplest form. We will do 7 tenths. Put it into a percentage and a decimal. And then the last one will be 7 2/1000ths. Okay. So obviously we got some basic ones here, and then we want to get more and more flexible with our thinking on this. Okay, do the practice problems. Good job.